Sarina Sit here at Quant International in London. Joining me now is Sarina Sit, Business Development Manager, Server BU at AMD. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And hardware can often get overlooked in the quant finance community. Why do you think that is?
I would say there are probably two reasons for that. And the first is, quants have their primary job and role, which is to develop and iterate on algorithms. And in many cases, their IT organizations in the company are provisioning them with whatever hardware they have in their fleet. And the quants don't necessarily have the ability to request certain types of hardware or even have the awareness of what is running under the hood. And to be very fair, for a quant, as long as they're able to run their code as they expect, as long as they're able to iterate as frequently as they are hoping to on the hardware, there's not much of a need for them to dig too deeply under the hood and ask questions about, what kind of hardware am I running on? Do I need to look for alternatives? Now, the second part of why the community might not be as aware of the hardware is because perhaps they have a notion that the calculations don't necessarily benefit from maybe changing up the hardware. And an example of this is with overnight risk calculations. If the calculation gets done overnight, then you've succeeded with your goal, everything is fine and dandy. You don't necessarily need to think of a different type of hardware to meet that end goal, right? Even if I could offer you a processor that does it 2 hours, 3 hours faster, does it make a meaningful difference? And so because hardware is not like the gating factor in that process, it's perhaps just not as crucial for the community to have that kind of awareness.
So why is it crucial for the quant finance community to be aware of the hardware which they're running their applications on?
I think the key to all of this is all of the advancements that have happened in the server industry. So, data centers of before, so legacy infrastructure, was designed with the CPUs and the technology that they had available at the time. But AMD actually re-entered the server market back in 2017 with our AMD EPYC processors. And ever since then, we've been releasing new generations of CPUs that have really upped the performance levels. And so actually, just this past October, we released 5th Gen EPYC, codenamed Turin. And if I showed you the kinds of numbers that you could see moving from legacy infrastructure to modern CPUs, it would blow your mind. So it's not just 10% or 20% improvement. We're talking about orders of magnitude better performance that we're able to unlock with modern CPUs. And so for a quant in particular, when they're developing their algorithms, this means different types of techniques that maybe weren't available to them before, faster rates of iteration, things of that nature. And so if I go back to the previous example with overnight risk calculations, what if I told you that instead of having to do it overnight with modern CPUs, you could actually do it on the same day? Let's say there's a major move in the market, you want to rehedge your portfolio, you kick off the calculations, but you actually get the results back the same day as opposed to having to wait overnight like the rest of your competitors. That ability to rehedge your portfolio sooner than everybody else is a significant advantage versus your competition. And I think that's one of the main reasons that quants should be aware of this. The other piece is more around the ability to accommodate emerging applications or emerging types of workloads like AI. Of course, even in this conference, we've had discussions around large language models and their place in the financial service community. And the thing about these new emerging applications is that they themselves are putting load on these legacy data centers, this legacy infrastructure. And if a given IT organization within a company doesn't have that agility to modernize their data centers, will they be well equipped or equipped enough to accommodate the new hot workload out there, whether it's LLMs or whether it's something else, especially because in that space, things move so quickly and evolve so quickly.
And what is the role of the software ecosystem when it comes to deploying quant finance solutions?
So the role of the ecosystem partners kind of falls in two buckets or along a spectrum. So on one end, you have the open source community, and then on the other, I would say I have independent software vendors or solution providers. And they both serve a very specific purpose for AMD, and we engage with both. So on the open source side of things, if we take something like quantlib, which is available open source, the GitHub is all there, they're very important for us because they're a mechanism for vendors like AMD to proxy a benchmark that is relevant to the community. To be fair, nobody is running quantlib in their deployment environments, but it's a way for us to show, hey, if you move from this infrastructure to that infrastructure, this is the kind of performance gain you would see on that benchmark, which should be more reflective of what you are actually running in your deployment or production environment. On the other hand, with the independent software vendors, if I take Compatible as an example, what they're able to do for their customers and for us is help their customers make informed decisions and also to pull in the timelines of deployment. Like if they have a risk management solution that they want to deploy, they can take Compatible's platform, and then that vendor is able to actually make recommendations on the kind of hardware that the solution is deployed on. So if a customer knows they want Compatible and they know they want AMD of some sort, Compatible has the knowledge, domain expertise to say, hey, maybe you want to run it AMD on the cloud versus AMD on-prem. And so for us, that's very valuable because they are the industry experts, and we are really leveraging what they bring to the market.
And given the hype around AI, what are you doing to incorporate the technology into your strategy?
I would say that AI is actually being incorporated into every part of AMD strategy. So the first business unit that comes to mind is our AMD Instinct product line, where you think of all the GPUs, training and inferencing. So that's kind of the big beast that we're putting a lot of investment and effort into for AI. On the other hand, you also have CPUs, and the CPUs can be used as host processors for those GPUs, or they can be used to run inference, for example, themselves. And so we do have customers that are playing with small models, but also have models that they need to train in. So they will kind of look to AMD for a breadth of offerings. So the last piece of all of this when it comes to AI is actually the communications between all of the GPUs that we were just talking about. And AMD just released a NIC called Polara. And the idea there is to efficiently allow the GPUs to communicate within themselves. And so you can imagine the utility that has and the impact that it has when you're doing a large cluster deployment with many GPUs together running training or large-scale inference. And that's just for the data center. On the kind of consumer side of things, when it comes to laptops, we have Ryzen AI in our PCs, and that enables things like Copilot Plus for live translation and captions as well.
So a lot of advancements there. Sarina Sit, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you so much.